Continues live from the heart of Central Florida. We're coming to you in a way that is trying to reframe what it is to have a news program together so you get something that is positive and beneficial to your life. Okay? I'm your host, David Gornoski. I hope you're doing well. And this wonderful Wednesday, and I see this show in its true essence being a kind of rehab, a rehabilitation place, a place of healing from the trauma and the programming that we pick up from the media and politics and government and all the corporations and the constant bombardment and violence, psychological violence of advertising and all this stuff, right? And it's like you can come to this program. This is a safe space to detox from it all. When I first started this program, I used to say, I see my role as a kind of political exorcist. And I meant that in a kind of tongue-in-cheek way, but also in a way that had some real truth and teeth to it. In the sense that possession, in this case, is the narratives, the lies, the constructs of lies that we build on top of each other and that we accept, that influence the way we process information in a way that is not helpful or destructive or truthful. And so when you get caught up, people catch ideas and they catch patterns and they catch habits and desires like they catch diseases. And then those ideas can become congealed into prevailing narratives that drive nations off of a cliff. I'm thinking of the visualization of the herd of pigs who Jesus takes the foul spirit of legion in that story in the Gospels and he throws it off of a cliff by throwing it into a crowd of pigs, and that herd of pigs just sends itself into oblivion, possessed, right, by a spirit of brokenness, of self-hatred. So I want this program to be an oasis, a live rehabilitation experience. So that, I'm not going to go through every little news headline every time. Sometimes I do. But you're going to go to this place and you're going to be able to take a rest, recharge, process these lies and all these different things. Let me give an example, okay? I'll give you an example of how this works. And by the way, if you want to call in to share your fears or concerns about particular stories in the news and how it's affecting your life, you can do so by calling in at 727-587-1040. The studio line is open, 727-587-1040, to share your experiences and all these different stories going on and, the negativity. And you might think, I'm a tough guy. I don't get affected by it. And sure, you may have joy. I mean, I have joy. But don't tell me you're not affected by it, okay? If you're living in the spirit of the age, and the spirit of the age is madness and violence and wars and economic and corruption and Hunter Biden's laptop and all this stuff. And I was thinking about it today. You hear so many people on the right, they're always talking about the Balenciaga stuff, and I report on it too, but but they're always talking about the Balenciaga stuff and Jeffrey Epstein and how California is emptying all these different horrible serial child predators into the cities of California and this kind of insanity, right? And it's just so traumatic that people literally get numbed out from it. And I think what's interesting about the time we're in is that there's so many layers upon layers of just mind-boggling evil stories that are starting to make it into the mainstream consciousness of our culture. And it's just so insane that people can't handle it. They can't handle it. They shut down. They close the door. It's kind of like a bystander effect. A mimetic contagion of defeatism and just deep, deep surrender and defeat. It is a kind of demoralization that I think wicked, evil ideas and wicked, evil patterns of behavior are thriving in, pushing us to become demoralized and dehumanized and desensitized to this horrible stuff. Here's an example. You know, the Epstein thing, and you're starting to see more and more corporate media, heavyweight outlets in the conservative world, at least, start and independent media and so forth, online media, talk about the reality of Epstein being an asset of, you know, intelligence community and our government and other governments, right? And when that happens, it's an interesting kind of situation because you're like, wow, there's one side of you that says, wow, finally, the whole country's finally going to start to get, maybe there's a possibility that the lying media outlets who do everything they can to lie and spin these narratives away whenever they're forced to deal with them, maybe the truth will overwhelm their gatekeeper, evil, disgusting oligarchy, and will be able to finally have the public process just a taste of what horrendous stuff is going on that runs the show. Or you can shut up and go and turn on Hannity or MSNBC and learn about the same stupid Mickey Mouse thing that's destroying your life and absolutely ruining the world. But if you decide to actually wake up and actually, okay, how is the world actually going to work? But there's a way in which, when you've been programmed into demoralization as a society, and you've been programmed into self-hatred in a way you don't even process, you don't even realize it because you don't consciously think of yourself as self-hating, but you've built in patterns of thinking and mental prisons, as they say, that keep you held back. And it was a disturbing thought to me when I thought, you know, maybe these outlets and stuff, it's going to finally come to a head, and the public is finally, like 90% of the public are going to be given objective facts about just some of the level of evil that goes on at the highest levels of the cosmic principalities and powers, aka governments and their coalition of oligarchic financial corporations and so forth. Maybe the public will finally have an opportunity to finally know just a sliver of truth to be able to process what's happening. But when you've been programmed to be demoralized and desensitized to some point, the public can receive an objective dose of truth, and it doesn't take, because their collective body has been so absolutely exhausted and destroyed and frazzled and broken that they can't even have the moral compass or fortitude to even reckon with it properly as they should. They've been so numbed out. And we get numbed out by these serial killer shows and these crime murder stuff that these streamers are always pumping into people's ideas, and we get numbed out. You know, you hear the conservative media say, man, look at that. Hunter Biden's people never, you know, get their justice. And look at what Clinton's did. They never get their justice. And that stuff just starts to bake in, right? And it bakes in and it bakes in. And people internalize that mindset that there will be no justice. There will be no, there will be no ability to resolve these deep, deep injustices, these deep layers of oppression. So that's something that I think is important for us to consider here. What we're going through here as a society, as a species, as a people. That, you know, it's not just about, hey, here's the facts. It's about how do we even process the facts of the truth in a way that doesn't just make you numb out and say, I just don't see it. It doesn't, doesn't make sense to me. Jesus tells his followers that we should make our lives living sacrifices as opposed to offering dead sacrifices. Sacrifice, in other words, is the cornerstone of who we are as a human species. The choice we have is whether to make self-giving acts of gratitude and nonviolence, or to use violent sacrifice that sheds another's life. But sacrifice is the glue, it is the ingredient of how culture will flourish. And unfortunately, in our society, powerful institutions have found ways to weaponize that concern of, hey, I don't want to violently sacrifice the poor. I don't want to violently sacrifice this marginalized community or that marginalized person. Or I don't want to incite anything that would create trauma or pain or exclusion or anything, right? And so there's this obsession with trying to not point out any differences or any patterns or any, tropes or stereotypes or any of that thing in certain directions. And there's always a way out. There's always in these stupid religions that we're all supposed to play along with in this culture. There's always these little religious outs where you can still scapegoat and otherize and dehumanize and take something that somebody did to you as an individual and extrapolate about why all men are bad or all this are bad or all that, right? So there are sanctioned scapegoats, in other words, that our powerful institutions still allow people to kick. And then, of course, there's a backlash that keeps going the other way, back and forth. That's the dialectic. That's the problem that we can't escape out of. We can. We absolutely can, and we will escape out of it, but we feel like we can't because we don't know any other option. Because every time Jesus shows up, you tell me, or someone tells me, or others tell me, yeah, that's religion, or they give me their dumb little theological, that's my thing. Don't you let other people engage with Jesus. No, that's not going to cut it anymore, okay? We've got to stop trying to bottle up and lie and contain the power of Jesus' liberation, because we're creating a false form of liberation in this culture, which is absolutely dehumanizing, absolutely disgusting, absolutely vicious and violent, and in the service of powerful, wicked, violent purposes. The only time someone, I saw a commentator saying, a lot of commentators say this, how come Hollywood never talks about what Balenciaga is doing with this disgusting stuff? How come they never talk about, they're afraid. They know where the power is. They don't want to speak out. They'll talk about every other victim narrative, but they won't talk about, people who are oppressed in China. Or they won't talk about, the kind of horrible stuff that happens to children and adults in Hollywood. They won't talk about it. Right? And so we just settle, okay, well, that's just the cynical way of the world. But it's like, why do you think that's the case? Why? It's because we are a Christ-haunted society, and we want to talk about victims because we are haunted by the call of the gospel to repent of sacrifice, but we are disobedient, all of us, in various ways, and so we find excuses to why we have to not do that. And that's what victimism is. Victimism is a perversion of Christianity that uses the concern for victims to maintain power or to create power opportunities for yourself. And the reason why Hollywood doesn't speak out about what in the world is going on to the victims that are being sacrificed on the cornerstones of Hollywood grandeur and pomposity, the reason they don't speak out is because they worship victimism, which is a perverted form of Christianity, which seeks to get power through hiding victims while at the same time pretending to stand on behalf of victims. But that's the way it is in conservative Inc. as well. Both the old guard establishment, neocon version, and this, upstart brand of the MAGA Inc. stuff. Always making excuses. That's the problem with politics. Always making moral excuses. Well, I'll look the other way and I'll support this establishment person. I mean, we see Marjorie Taylor Greene example. I'm not, I don't know much about her. I don't really follow her thing, but, I've heard people on the right say she's a true anti-establishment person, and she's over there saying, oh, yeah, we got to support Kevin McCarthy. What are you talking about, right? What are you talking about? Now, of course, politics is somebody made a deal, right? They made a deal. Hey, you'll get to be on this committee, and you'll be able to do your thing. You can do your populist thing, and I'll give you X, Y, and Z for your base, but you're going to have to help me, right? That's the kind of deal that happens with these things. We all know it. And we put up with it. We tolerate that slop as the way in which we will move society forward. But we all know it's not going to move us anywhere forward but off of a cliff into destruction. But you keep playing it because that's the only game you think works, because you don't put your faith in Jesus. You don't believe what he's actually saying. If you believe what he's actually saying, to trust in my way, then you wouldn't make excuses for your pet politicians who sell out for the wicked pet politicians, and then they become the same. You just wouldn't make excuses. I'm not saying that you would have to find a perfect, pious, person who never sins. Not at all. But there's a basic standard of being able to live in the pursuit of the truth in a way that does not make you an enabler of great, great evil. And Kevin McCarthy will not do anything but enable the status quo, which is predating and destroying our society and the world around us. The status quos of wicked wars. These are mafia thugs at the top of wars, and they're making money off of these lies, and they're using poor people's kids as fodder. And I'm so tired of saying it because it's dehumanizing to say such a moral atrocity and then to hear the public say, oh, what else is new? Did you see what Biden said today? You see what I mean? I'm tired of saying it. I feel like it does something to your spirit to talk about these traumas and know that, well, I guess we're not going to do anything. Let's go talk about our sponsors today, right? I'm tired of that. I'm tired of just living with that. Oh, okay, I explained to you the graphic reality of war, and you say, well, I'm going to go support this Republican Marco Rubio because he's better than the other. What can you do, man? You're trapped. You are in the shrunken hell. You're never going to get out if that's how you're going to be. And I'm not telling you to vote for some libertarian party. I'm not telling you to do any of this stupid other little scam stuff that people come up with as other little gimmicks. I'm just telling you that maybe we need to listen to Jesus for once and take his message seriously. The personhood revolution is completely the foundation of the conversation that's happening in the world. And we're just finding all these different reasons to rebel and lie and take Jesus's movement and twist it and lie and contort it and make it into something that can justify our power and our angers and our resentments and our desire to sacrifice and beat the other person, and ultimately our obsession with power and desire for other people. And so, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing here and trying different things to get through to people, right? But at some point, what are you going to do? It's a wonderful time to be alive. But if the public doesn't want to understand Jesus and what he's actually up to, if they don't even want to have that conversation, if every time I talk about Jesus, your little theological blinders of your little special boy group or your little special people group, your little theological group is always going to kick in and you're going to try to filter all this information. I mean, we're all going to do that. We're humans. I'm not saying you can ever escape that or I can escape it completely. But if that's all we're going to do is just try to bottle up this conversation. Oh, he's talking about Jesus again. I really like David's show. He talks about physics or he talks about nutrition. I hate it when he talks about Jesus. It sounds so silly. Oh, that kind of mindset, right? Or is he on my theological team? Does he believe in the true church? Because it's my church. My church. Me. It's me. I got it. And you're like, okay, well, all right, good for you, buddy. Good for you. Go vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene, Kevin McCarthy, whatever, that same stupid little gimmick. And I'm not pointing out those people to say, get them or fire them, right? I'm willing to try to work within the system. I mean, there were politicians that I had on this show during the last election cycle, a couple, right? And I understood I get it that they didn't have exactly the worldview, right? But I felt like we're in such a dire situation that if they're going to robustly go against the war machine, and they're signaling that in public and behind the scenes, off the record, you can go and try to stop wars. Okay, I get it, right? And that's a gray line. That's a gray fuzzy area about, okay, well, where's the line between, okay, now they've actually sold out and you've just wasted your time, right? I get that. But it's really not that complicated. If you can tell you can test the spirits. You can have discernment. When you look at a man like Ron Paul, you don't have to worry about what's his gimmick. Is he going to back Kevin McCarthy? That man would never bend the knee and endorse Mitt Romney or McCain, try as they did to try to bring him in the tent. He would never do it. And you knew you were talking to a real man. But the public doesn't want a real man, because a real man doesn't give them the stupid slop that talk radio trash programming has been giving conservatives or populists or whatever, or TV has been giving the left. A real man, a real hero, or whatever you want to call it, that person isn't going to do this tickling of the ear stupidity, okay? And so you're in a conundrum when you're doing a media thing like this, because you're trying to work with people where they're at, and everybody wants to hear their stupid little, bumper sticker slogans about why the other team's the villain. And I've been saying this all along, right? That this is a problem, but at some point you have to say, when are we going to get serious? When are we going to dive into this? And I know many are. I get it. I see your emails. I hear about you talking about your desire to follow and join what Jesus is doing in the world and to imitate him. I understand that we are making a huge difference. But time is of the essence, folks. The whole world hangs in the balance. This is not a TV show. This is not a program. This is a true conversation about the real dangers that we face and the real lies that are holding us back from just walking away from this continual layer upon layer of deceit and violence that has been hidden since the foundation of the world.